Listen to me. Listen real closely. When it comes to these M1s, if Apple say they did it, they did that shit. Roll my intro.
Perfect.
You probably already heard this from a lot of the early reviews, but I'm gonna say it again from someone that's not in Apple pockets, that didn't get an early review unit, that bought this with my own money. The hype is real. The M1 Max exceeds every expectation. But before I jump into all the greatness of the M1 Max, I want to hit on a few things that I didn't like so far within the first month of using this. But not necessarily things I didn't like, more so things that could use some improvement. Some of the early reviews I saw on the M1 Max spoke about how powerful it is and how fast the export speeds are, all while the fans never turning on. But during my experience, I did not notice the same thing. The first export I did, the fans definitely turned on and it was audible. It was nowhere near as loud as my Intel MacBook Pro, but it wasn't as silent as my M1 Mac Mini, which till to this day, I have never heard that fan turn on. It also gets pretty hot. I've been using the 16-inch MacBook Pro 90% of the time on my lap. During that time, I was pushing it really hard, doing video edits, exporting, running multiple apps in the background. I was really trying to push this thing. During that time, the Mac did get noticeably hot and I had to pull out the old pillow, but it only affected lappability while like pushing it really hard. If I was doing something like writing a script or just using it for normal use, the fan never turned on, nor did it get hot. When choosing to go with the 16-inch MacBook Pro, I was concerned about the weight, and my concern was valid. This thing is a brick. It is only slightly thicker than the 15-inch and a little bit heavier, but it's 100% noticeable. It's not really heavy to where you'll be concerned if you needed to travel with it or something like that, but if you was trying to reduce the weight of your travel backpack, this won't help at all. But after a couple of weeks of using it and carrying it around, it doesn't feel heavy no more, but it's only like if I pick up my old 15-inch, then I can tell like, oh man, this is like a big weight difference. That's literally all I had bad to say. Now it's time to get into the good stuff. I will say when they announced the redesigned MacBooks, I wasn't too enthused by the new design. To me, it didn't look all that appealing. But once I got this thing in my hands, my opinions completely changed. I really like this design. I really like the slim bezels. Apple just couldn't help themselves and include a notch. The notch is there because of these super thin bezels, but I think they could have figured something else out, especially that the notch only includes just the camera, no Face ID, no nothing. During normal use, I see the notch is just not there. That doesn't bother me at all, and I appreciate these super slim bezels. It's crazy to me that Apple took this long to get rid of those thick bezels. This new keyboard, I'm loving this all black design. The keyboard is like really clicky. It could be a little more clicky, but it feels really comfortable to type on and everything. They did get rid of the touch bar. Unpopular opinion, I like the touch bar. It was cool. It was nice to see the little things that pop up change during a different app. Am I mad that it's gone? No. I never once said, hey, I missed that touch bar. I am happy to have physical escape button. I'm happy to have this power button with Touch ID on it. It works really good. It's really fast. The design itself is like the build of this thing feels really premium. Like you get exactly what you paid for. Apple also brought back Magsafe. While it's cool that it charges at 140 watts, I've only used the Magsafe charger once during the initial charge. I'm more of a USB-C type guy, which this includes 3 of, and all of them are Thunderbolt 4, which is just great. Just love me some USB-C. One cable does the job with every device, everything USB-C. I'm happy. Magsafe is back. Whoever likes it, it's cool. The HDMI port, it's good that they added it. I know some people really like having the HDMI port. I've never used it. I don't see any time I will ever use it, but it's cool. If it's that one case that happens that I need it, it's there. What I'm really happy about with this new design this SD card slot. Ooh, that thing get a lot of love. I use the SD card slot all the time. I'm happy it's there. Normally I have my dongle and I plug in my SD and do my thing with it, but it's also cool to like not need a dongle, because there's been times where I forgot that dongle and need to like plug in my SD and there's just no way. But now if I forget to have the dongle, I can just plug it directly in. The transfer speeds is pretty fast. So the addition of the SD card is really great. My absolute favorite part of this new design has to be the display. The liquid retina XDR display just looks amazing. I got the 16-inch because I wanted that extra real estate for video editing, but I did not know that this display would just blow me away like this. Like, it's so good that I just don't even plug it into my monitor anymore, because it just doesn't serve me any justice. Like, looking at this display, the colors just really pop. It's really bright, and also it got that smooth 120 hertz. Everything just so buttery smooth. All the transition just looks so much better. It just, like, unless you have like the XDR $5,000 XDR monitor that Apple makes, nothing else can compare to this. Like, whatever monitor you think you like right now that looks really good, this is 10 times better. So I do hope like Apple makes a more consumer friendly version of the XDR monitor to plug this thing into, because right now I don't like plugging my monitor up, because I just want to enjoy this display. Watching videos, casual browsing, just everything looks better on here. I'm just not motivated to like plug this thing into anything else. So I talked about what I didn't like. I talked about this amazing design, this great display, but probably what a lot of people want to know is, how is the performance? I'm gonna rate this a performance a perfect 10 out of 10, a whole 10 out of 10, like no complaints. I'm not going to jump into a lot of like heavy benchmarking, because there's a lot of great videos that talk about those crazy benchmarks. I'm gonna give you my opinion about my everyday use. For context, I mainly do editing on my Mac, and that consists of 4K video from my Sony a6600, my Sony a6400, multicam, a lot of animations. I started my editing doing it on a 15-inch Intel MacBook Pro. The editing experience on there was pretty bad. It was horrible. It's really horrible. Then I moved on to the M1 Mac Mini, and the experience was light years better. The only issue I had with that is when you're doing multiple things at once, it started to lag a little bit. But here comes this M1 Max. Oh man, this thing just changed everything. With the M1 Max, I was blown away at how everything rendered instantly. No matter how many LUTs, no matter how many effects, everything I threw at it, it just handled it like a champ. All while having multiple apps running in the background. The editing experience was just simply amazing, but it didn't stop there. The export speeds was just as fast. The first export I did was my iPhone 13 review. That video was 17 minutes and it roughly exported in about 5 minutes compared to 10 minutes on my Mac Mini. To put this in perspective, my 15-inch Intel MacBook Pro, that same video took about 40 minutes to export. Like, you can see the leap, like the leap from the Mac Mini to like the M1 Max. It was just twice as fast, but the leap, you can just see the leap from the Intel MacBook Pro to the M1 Max MacBook Pro. It's crazy. The next video I did was the unboxing of this MacBook Pro. That was like a 16-minute video, and I really like threw a lot of animations, a lot of transitions, a lot of LUTs, a lot of color grading. I just really was trying to push this processing power. And that video only took 4 minutes and 30 seconds to export. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Like, I really threw a lot of that. I was really trying to push this thing, and it 4 minutes and 30 seconds for a 16-minute video. Follow that up with my Pixel 6 unboxing. That took, it was even faster, 3 minutes and 49 seconds. This is really crazy. I was coming from that 15-inch MacBook Pro, like literally I would hit export and just walk away, go do something else, because I knew it's gonna take like 40 minutes to like an hour just to export one video. Now I can export something, made a mistake, come right back really quick and export it again, all in 10 minutes. What makes this even more crazy, all of this was done on battery. All the videos I exported, all the videos I edited, everything I did was on battery. Like I was saying earlier in the video, I was using this 90% of the time in my lap, sitting in the couch, watching TV while editing videos, exporting videos. Everything was done on battery. Doing all of this on battery, pushing this thing super hard on battery. You probably thinking like, how's the battery life? The battery life on here is absolutely amazing. I've been pushing this thing really hard and it still lasted all day. All day. On my Intel MacBook Pro, I go through a 1 hour Zoom call and the battery is dead. With this 16-inch MacBook Pro, I edited videos, watch videos, edit thumbnails, Lightroom, exporting videos, and I never had to plug it in. I start the day at 100% and do all of that, and I'll be still like at about 50-60% through all of that. And while not editing videos and pushing it super hard, like this thing would last several days. One time I like plugged it in to charge it up fully, and I just had to sit in there, unplug on my desk. Came back like 2-3 days later, and I probably lost about 1%. The battery life on this thing is ridiculous. It's like similar to like a cell phone, it's like standby. Like you can sit your cell phone down and come back and its battery still full. So that's like how these M1 MacBook Pros is working. It really just doesn't make sense. Like the kind of power you're getting from these and still have doing all of this on battery and then still having great battery life. This thing keeps like it keeps blowing me away with everything. On top of all of that, when I open this thing up, it turns on instantly. It's like the thing was never asleep. Even coming from a full shutdown, I open it up and it's ready to use within about 5 seconds. The speakers on here are great too. Not like any of the older MacBook Pros speakers weren't good, because the Apple speakers, for whatever reason, they do a great job with the speakers, but the speakers on here just took things to another level. Like watching videos is really like a really immersive experience, like watching videos with the display and the speakers. Things just sound great and it looks great. They also upgraded the camera quality and the microphone quality on these new M1 MacBook Pros. It's not a huge difference, nothing to really brag about. It's going from 720p to 1080, so it is an improvement in the video quality. But I mean, I'm still gonna use my mirrorless camera as a webcam because you can't beat that experience. But if you need to like use to do a quick Zoom call or something like that, then you can tell the improvement in the video quality. It also has Wi-Fi 6. My current setup does not include Wi-Fi 6, but I do plan on upgrading my at-home setup at a later date. But even with not that being Wi-Fi 6, I'm still getting really good speeds with my speed test. There's so much to love about these new M1 Max MacBook Pros. That is a lot to say, but I still think it's overkill for most people. But if you're really looking for that new design, the M1 Pros is still a good option unless you know you're gonna use that additional power of the M1 Max. The M1 MacBook Pro and the M1 Air is still a great option if you're looking for a new laptop. It is still way better performance than those Intel MacBook Pros. What Apple was able to do with their own silicones is incredible, and I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with the M1 for Mac Pros. I still have a lot of testing to do with this, so subscribe for that long-term review that's gonna come. But for now, that's all I have. Thanks for watching. This is Joe, and this was another Joe Tech Talk. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next one. I'm out.